Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. Like Tony said, on this rainy night, it would be poetic that it was a little storm earlier because you're going to learn more about how I have weathered the storm. As Tony mentioned, I am David Wyley Long, and I just wanted to start off with some laughter because I think that laughter has been a cure for my life's ill. I wanted to also just give a little backstory. Every time I hear that clip, people always want to know, why were you so adamant about Sprinkle? So if anyone has anyone ever been on a game show in the room? No, I'm the only game show. Okay. So when you tape a game show, a 30-minute game show takes 6 hours to film.
Ooh.
6 hours to film. It is literally the longest, unfunnest, and I know that's not even a word, but it's literally such a long, drawn out thing. But what happens is they literally, after every break, they touch up the host hair, they make sure that we're positioned correctly. It takes so much to go into. They do never film completely go through. If there's any mistake or anything, they stop and what have you. So after the question is asked, they literally touch up his hair. It does not go right into it. There's a lot of editing involved. So when that question was asked, this was our second show. We were already mad at each other for various reasons. So I was in a zone. And I remember I was trying to stay so focused because there was so much going on. And he's constantly telling jokes. So I didn't even hear my cousin's wife say Sprinkle. So that's why I thought I had the answer. I was ready. I was like, yes, I got it. We're going to win. And that's why I was so adamant. And I literally, when I looked up there, I'm like, oh, that's what she said. So just to give you a little clarity and some backstory on on Family Feud. You'll see a little bit later my debut on The Price is Right. And I have been privileged to be on 6 game shows, and I'm trying out for number 7 very, very soon.
Yes.
So, why are we here? We are here because I'm presenting Up Against the Wind, chasing David Wiley. My life so far of 40 years of born in Newark, New Jersey, migrating to Detroit, Michigan, going back home to New Jersey to be around family, ultimately going to New York City, living there for 10 years, and then finally living here in Nashville, Tennessee for the past 10 years. I'd like to start off and just read something that was poignant to me and something that I wrote in honor of tonight. Bear with me because, as you know, when you talk about yourself and be vulnerable, it can be tough. So please, bear with me. And thank you for receiving me. Am I broken? If not, why do I see glass in my feet? I feel broken because sometimes I see and smell the cracks of my life. I have battled this damn virus for close to 17 years. But who is counting? Well, I am. I am proud and happy to still be alive and making it, but the glass persists. It is in my community, on my social media, and in the crowded doctor's office with faces that mirror mine. But no one dares make eye contact. We take our pills and keep it moving. But I know we sit in these chairs, thumbing through old magazines and endless HIV medicine advertisement and try to get through their appointments with peace. How do I fix this cracked window and uplift my peers and the brothers in my community who are scared to shout HIV and only disclose when it fits them? How do I change the conversation and let my people know that it's going to be okay if my window is cracked and glass is everywhere? My name is David Wyley Long, author, college graduate, and the man with HIV for over 17 years. How do I live? I do it by crying and allowing others I know to hurt too. But these tears of joy of continuing to live and thrive. I do it by being fearless in everything I do. I do it by writing this book. I do it by standing in a room complete of by standing in the front of a room of strangers telling my story. I do it because I'm not the only one, but I am the speaker of the house, sharing my voice so the tears of my pain and the glass of my feet would end with me. I do it because I care about you, but I also care about me. I wrote this book for so many reasons. The first is simple. I realized I had a story to tell, and a lot of my stuff was not pretty, not normal, to be frank, and not easy to understand. With the help of a dynamic and powerful therapist who fed me the tools to overcome the pain, trauma, and lived experiences, I put the pen to work and cried and wrote and cried some more. This story reflects many painful moments in my life, but the raw reality of love sometimes ain't pretty. I will repeat, sometimes love just ain't pretty. But that is the thing that I fully don't understand. Even today, April 5th, love ain't pretty. While love can provide rich and beautiful blessings and show up in life in simple joys as a long hug, a stolen kiss, I yearn for a mother's love. I pause now to read my first chapter. She stood behind the window of the classroom door. She was tall and silent. When I first observed her, I dismissed the sight as I was trying to concentrate on my first grade teacher, Miss Aram. It was a beautiful spring day at Herman Elementary School in Detroit, Michigan, and the sun blared inside the classroom. The lady's radiance rivaled the sunshine. I was drawn to her, and she was watching me with piercing eyes. Yet as the teacher went over the lesson for the day, I tried to avoid her stare. She stood at the door for 5 minutes before she tapped on the window. Miss Aram continued to teach and disregarded the outside visitor. However, with the second tap, she quickly excused herself. The lady hovered over the teacher while continuing to keep an eye on me. The conversation shifted everyone's attention from the school lesson and the classwork, and I was curious too. It was like a movie playing right before our eyes. We all watched the discussion unfold, and then with a dramatic moment when the lady's voice rose. The next thing I remember, the lady opened the door and stormed past Mrs. Aram into the classroom. She continued to stare at me, and she yelled my name. A tad confused, but also shaken and scared, I said yes. My row was the farthest from the classroom door, and although it was a small room, by the time she got to me, I was out of the chair running away. Miss Aram darted back into the room and attempted to block the lady from grabbing me. Suddenly, a little girl appeared, who I had not noticed before, stood at the door crying. I looked away and ran to the back of the classroom. The strange lady yelled at me again with more emotion. I stopped and stood in the back, confused about what to do. My classmates started yelling. The tall lady shouted, "I'm your mother." She couldn't be my mother, as I had left my mother earlier that morning before I got to school. This woman did not look like me, which further confused me. Her presence made me uneasy. We both stood, frozen, eyes glazed, and glued to each other. My peers grew silent, and Miss Aram rushed to my side. The lady followed, and now only Miss Aram was blocking us from touching. The little girl continued to cry. She said, "Mommy." The lady turned her attention to the little girl, then looked back at me to hug the little girl. Another teacher quickly came into the classroom and asked the lady and the girl to leave. I returned to my seat once they left and put my head down. Who was this lady? Who was this little girl? How did they know me? The principal called my father immediately, and I was waiting in the office when my father came and picked me up. I asked him if he knew who the lady was. Someone crazy, he replied, and that was it. I knew I shouldn't question him, and because I was not in search of a mother, that was that. A month later, we left that school and found another place to live, as my father worried that this crazy lady will return. Turns out that crazy lady was indeed my birth mother, and the only crazy person in this situation was my father, who created the madness and allowed it to fester within his own child. So, now you see how my life shattered like glass in that classroom. To meet your biological mother, the lady who carried you, in a setting where confusion, anger, and craziness all combine. I can honestly reflect on that day with many good thoughts. Although I was frightened, and it was a woman who wanted me. I often wonder if she took me, how my life will prevail. Would the muted love I gave to her be blossomed into being a mother's boy? Would I give her life meaning and prevent her from a tragic death just 9 years later? Would I live in regrets, as I've always believed that everything happens for a reason, and 80% of the time you honestly don't know why? I often daydream of a happy family and a together family. I was raised separate from my birth mother, as my father, who I was named after, thought it was wiser to allow his first cousin to raise me. This critical decision will have me long-lasting effects, which still affects me today, in present day. Love sometimes ain't easy. Love sometimes ain't pretty. While we know that certain love in life is different, for example, a parent's love is often the strongest love you can understand. The role of nurturing and raising is seated in love, and your well-being shapes your world. What if that is not the case and you're just there? Growing up, I was just there. Not a nuisance, but definitely not a welcome addition. Lillian, who my father deemed was the best person for me to be mothered by, lived in a world of conditions. While her love was present, it was a love never felt. I was just there. Although they were first cousins, they held a secret relationship. And while they loved each other, it was never showcased. So I lived in a loving household with no love present. Love sometimes ain't pretty. So the title is the number 2 question that I get about the book, is where did I get this title from? It is officially titled Up Against the Wind, Chasing David Wiley. I want to read now on where that started. The book is titled Up Against the Wind and is after a song. This song, which inspired the book, came off from the phenomenal movie Set It Off. This powerful movie had 4 dynamic female leads, including Queen Latifah. We all know who Jada Pinkett Smith now is, of course. Kimberly Elise and Vivica A. Fox. The song is central to a scene at the end of the movie with Queen Latifah's character, Cleopatra, meets a fatal end. She has led the police on a high-speed chase, but they have cornered her. She sits in her car surrounded by the police, and I mean they are everywhere. in the sky and all around her. I can only imagine the feeling of having 25 loaded guns pointed at you. But she sits there and takes it all in. As she comes to terms with this new reality, this song begins to play. You begin to realize it is the end of the road for the character. She wants to do it her way. She casually lights a cigarette, and the police, knowing that she can't leave, they allow it. The song, written by Christopher Young and sung so perfectly by Lori Perry, captures the scene brilliantly. It hit me like a ton of bricks the first time I ever watched it. Word for word, this is the song of my life. And it personally sums up how I felt growing up. In the movie, Cleo continues to puff her cigarette and looks around. She also knows that this is the end. In one last hurrah, she makes the fatal decision to drive off in an attempt to push past the many police cars that surrounded her. The police proceed to shoot her in the car in a constant barrage of gunfire. It's a tough scene to watch. However, she was fighting up against the wind. And that is how I have lived my life, up against the wind. I want to just read you the song lyrics because I think everyone at one point in their life has fought against something that they have no control over. Up Against the Wind, written by Christopher Young. Day after day, seems like I push against the clouds. They keep blocking out the sun. It seems that since I was born, I've wakened every blessed morning, down on my luck, and up against the wind. Don't you stop. Don't you run. Don't you cry. You'll do fine. You'll be good. You'll get by. Night after night seems like I rage against the moon, but it doesn't light the dark. I curse the falling rain, but it won't stop my complaining. Down on my luck and up against the wind. You'll do fine. You'll do good. You'll get by. Swimming against the tide and striking the indifferent air. I'm swinging with empty hands, driving that empty dream. Day after day, I fend against the heat. But it don't ever cool the breeze. Don't you stop. Don't you run. Don't you cry. I end with the hope that inspired this black boy from Newark, New Jersey, fighting against the wind and the persistent storms of life. And I continue to push. I realize in order to grow, I must know that love and life sometimes ain't. Thank you for your time.
Do we want to see Price is Right?
Yes, so we're going to watch another clip and then take questions. Thank you for receiving my tribute.
Let's go over this closest to the actual retail price without going over. Then they can come up on stage. David, we're going to start with you. $1,750.
Let's say 1,100.
$1,100? $1,100. Barbara?
1,500.
$1,500. Cody?
1,501.
1,501. actual retail price is $1,761. First one up on stage, and you know, we like to start the show off with a bang sometimes, David, so George, let him know. Bang me! Ready for the bang? It's the Ford Focus SE hatchback. Comes equipped with a 2-liter engine, 6-speed automatic transmission, front-wheel drive, plus paint and fabric protection. It's the Ford Focus. Focus on James O'Halloran, everybody. James O'Halloran. Hey, buddy. Hey, good day, everybody. Ever go to Vegas and roll dice? I'm about to now. You're about to now. Gonna roll some dice. I'm gonna show you the first number of the price of the Ford Focus. First number is a 2. All the other numbers are 1 through 6, just like on the dice, okay? The game's called the dice game. 1 through 6. So one by one, you're gonna roll these, make sure it goes over the line, and if the number comes up that's the correct number, ding, 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 you get it. Okay. If it doesn't, you have to tell me whether the actual number is higher or lower than the one you just rolled. 1's are an automatic winner because it has to be higher, right? 6 is an automatic winner because it has to be lower, right? That's right. So all you need is a 6 or 1 on the number. Go ahead, David. Let's get started. A 2 is the...
Wait.
Did you hand the card?
So that is so Tony is pulling that off the website, and I have all the videos, and you'll have to check out the website to see the conclusion. DavidWyleyLong.com has all of my game shows, including Judge Judy, Sally Jesse Raphael, and Let's Make a Deal, all on DavidWyleyLong.com. So it is my hope that I get on Supermarket Sweep, Password, and the weakest link is back. So put some good fillers out there, what have you, but it is something that brings me great joy. I just really wanted to showcase that because game shows are fun, you know, and I think it's poignant to bring it full circle. So if there was any questions if anyone would like to purchase the book, I am doing a special this evening because I definitely want to bless you, you have blessed me, and the purchase price is what you would like to donate. So I sell it online for $36.50. A lot of times people ask me, what is that $36.50, what have you? But there is rhyme and reason behind the $36.50. So it is a dime a day. It is literally $1 a day for an entire year. And when I started to decide to go to write the book, I wanted to take a sabbatical, a 3-month sabbatical. I thought I could complete this book in 3 months. And I decided to go to St. Croix, which I had never been to before. It was literally, I knew that it was only a certain amount of islands that I could afford it to go to, that I didn't require a visa. And as you know, the U.S. Virgin Islands, including Puerto Rico, are islands that you can go to. And I didn't want to go to Puerto Rico. I've been many times before. St. Thomas was tons of fun, and I was like, that's not going to give me the opportunity to really, so I was like, X marks the spot. And I had literally never went to St. Croix before I went. It was a total adventure. Like literally, I got there, I just had a suitcase. I knew someone there that helped me secure housing for the month, but I didn't know that you drive on the left side of the street. I didn't know anything about this island. It was literally part of the journey.
Wow.
And in order for me to afford this, I had a dime campaign, and the dime campaign was literally a dime a day for 1 year. So if you afforded me this dime a day, the $36.50, you got the book as soon as the book came out. So that's where I had that. So I've kept that price since the book debuted at last June, and I just kept that in just honor of the dimers and what have you. But today, if anyone that does not have the book, I definitely want to extend the blessing, and whatever you would like to donate, whatever on your heart, if it's nothing, what have you, I am just here to receive and bless you as you have blessed me. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was, I would not be here if I just did not, again, fully acknowledge my therapist that has helped me tremendously. You know, a lot of times when you go into a therapy, as this is Mental Health Month, it's May or April? May. So it's coming up. Coming right in, right on time. Thank you for coming. May is Mental Health Month, and a lot of times, if you didn't know, in the Black community, it is very prevalent that mental health is more acknowledged, what have you. I'm fortunate and blessed to work with many prized therapists that do the great work standing side by side. But when I first started, I was working at a local agency, and this agency was amazing, but the executive director was quite eccentric, you know, and although he gave me one of the greatest opportunities and brought me to Nashville, Tennessee, and started a program, there was many ideology differences. And I sought therapy because I knew that I needed a release, but also I was going through a lot of the things was coming up in regards to my life. So I said, let me get under someone's care, let me find someone. And as you can see, although we do favor each other, we are quite opposite. But that is the beauty of therapy. The beauty of therapists is talking to someone about your problems, no matter if they do not mirror you, and to releasing all the pain and trauma. So I just really wanted to pay homage to you because I just really shudder at the thought of not having someone to hear the cries, hear all of the pain and the anguish. And I know that she gets paid to do it, but her humility and her openness to learning more about not only my world, but really diving in to give me the tools that I need to get my book to complete, as well as successfully get me to 2 college degrees while here in Nashville, Tennessee. And that, you know, although, yes, I wrote the papers and, you know, did all the work and what have you, but having someone there to push when there was many times when I was like, I don't need a degree. I don't want this. This book is too painful to put out. Tony was instrumental in just saying, keep pushing. You know, just really laying that seed and really just getting me to the point where I have it. And I did it. So thank you. And I hope that if you do bless me and take the book, that you read my journey, and I hope that you too can learn more about how someone persevered and overcame the storms of their particular life, because life is hard. And as someone that has lived through a lot, everyone in this room has lived through a pandemic. And you know, there has been many people that have died through the 2 years that COVID has ravaged our lives, up, down, left, and right. And just to still be present and still be here is so present. And thank you, Jewish Family Services, for holding true. When we first decided to have this, COVID prevented it twice. So we continue to persevere, and she really wanted to announce that. So thank you. Was there any questions before I did any of the signings or what have you? Yes.
Are you going to do any more of these?
I am. So